Hi everyone, I'm Francois, Industrial Design Director for Frog North America, and I'm here with Design Milk for DMTV Milkshake. I will pull some questions from my favorite vessel. Okay. First question. What are some mindsets or qualities that set Frog's workplace culture apart from other design companies? Okay. Well, in my design career, I worked for several design consultancies, and I can say I've been fortunate to work with some of the brightest, most talented, creative minds, and but each company had its own unique flavor, and I think a lot of that ties into its history, the DNA the founder stamped onto the company originally. And Frog, which is a 50-year-old company, got its start with early collaboration with Steve Jobs and Apple Computer, and even Frog, which is spelled with a lowercase f, that was a way to be irreverent and buck the trend of formality. Nowadays, it's very common, of course, using lowercase for your company. But back then, in the late 60s, it was quite radical. And so part of that spirit of irreverence still carries forward to today. I think that a lot of the people, my colleagues at Frog, have that healthy sense of challenging things, breaking rules where they see opportunities to make something new, and not being afraid to scrap something, break it down completely, and then rebuilding it. There's also a scrappiness, I think, that comes from kind of a lack of respect for process too, in some ways. While process, of course, is important, also knowing when to discard that is also important as well. I also know that a lot of my colleagues that have gone on to other companies, and quite a few of them, the ex-Frog alumni network is quite large. They still claim that their best times were at Frog, so there's something special. It's not just the people and the projects, it's a combination of many factors in the culture that a place has through its legacy. Okay, second question. What do you believe are the main challenges industrial designers will face in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, currently in the world, we have multiple crises going on, from the global pandemic, which gave rise to our financial crisis, and then we have our systemic racism and police brutality crisis. In regards to the pandemic, obviously a lot of people are now working remotely. What is the home life going to look like now, working from home as a primary mode of operation? What do safety protocols look like for restaurants and office spaces as they begin to open, and public places for that matter, with these new concerns? What types of new PPE products will come out as a result of this? So people's sentiments around safety, protection, and trust are going to be increased. And also, once again, working from home, what does the home office look like? How people are ordering and consuming things, not going to brick and mortar retail stores and so forth. What does that mean for these big box businesses as well? And so a lot of those things need to be looked at. But in general, around industrial design, how it's been headed, we assume none of this pandemic happened. Technology has enabled us to prototype. Anyone can basically print out 3D things from wherever they are, and prototype things very quickly with CAD tools, and what we have at our disposal now is quite incredible from 15 years ago when I started my career, and so that's amazing. But on the other hand, something I've noticed is that working with hands in making foam hand models, in addition to sketching and other kinds of more analog skill sets, are being lost because computers and programs and computers can make things happen so easily and quickly. So there's still a lot of value to those analog methods in terms of the happy accidents and subtle mistakes that make things feel a bit more human. And there's knowing through touching things and feeling it in your hand versus something you see on the computer screen. So I believe that that the value in that will increase more as products start to look less like the language of what we expect products to look like. You can see buttons and other kinds of things that were typical physical artifacts of an interface from an older language are starting to disappear, and so things will feel a lot more like these old handmade kind of artifacts and relics that people used to just create. So now in regards to systemic racism, I think that people's awareness around this problem, this illness that the United States has, will be addressed in terms of how we design for inclusivity, how we consider everybody in the equation of what we design for, instead of just designing for the 3 or 5%. Companies' awareness around these real problems and concerns will give rise to more products and services and other kinds of designs that address this. And at the end of the day, these systemic problems stem from the main narrator, the storyteller. And as designers, we're all storytellers, and so we need to go in there and rewrite that script and change that from that systemic level. Third question here. How do you unwind outside of work? Do you have any hobbies? As a matter of fact, prior to my first degree, undergraduate studies was actually in fine arts and music. And those are still things that very much feed my soul. I think they inform a lot of my design work. And so I continue to do them very seriously. Now that we spend so much time at home, I've been taking a lot of Skype lessons on the classical guitar, and have been sketching ideas for paintings and sculptures. But I think it's very important to do the things that feed our soul and passion, and the things we learn about ourselves, and through that we can bring to our discipline and our craft and our trade. And a comment I'd like to make about my private lessons for guitar is that I'm studying with an exceptional teacher who's Juilliard trained, and it's always a very humbling thing every time I have a lesson, because I think that I'm prepared and I'm going to come in and impress my teacher, but I always walk away with being very humbled and realizing how much more I need to learn and how much more there is. And I think that's a very healthy thing for all of us in our field, to constantly put ourselves in situations where we're humbled and we see the opportunity for improvement and growth and development. And once we start feeling that we know quite a bit, and the hubris sinks in. That's when we stop growing, we stop learning, and particularly in design, we cannot afford to not be sharp and on edge. So I hope everyone's keeping safe, and thank you for spending time with me today.